tell us about your business, what you guys do, how you guys started it, just the beginning of it. Yeah.
So my name is Jake, and I'm the founder of Breath.Energy. And the way that we came to breath work was basically I used to be really angry, and life was not going well. Just every day was a struggle. I was doing well at life, but certainly not as well as I thought I should be doing based off of what I felt my gifts and intelligence and personality of. Like, you look at what you're capable of and you look at what you're getting, and you're like, hey, there's an incredible mismatch here between like what I'm doing and what I'm getting. And just felt like all of life was a struggle. Like there weren't any aspects of life in which were going well. So a friend brought me to breathwork and said, hey, this will fix everything. And I brought Kim to it, because I'm like, hey, we're going to go do this breathwork thing and it's going to fix everything. And then we went and did it and laid there for 2 hours and nothing happened. We just stared at a ceiling and listened to some cool music and got done and was like, well, that was an incredible bummer. And then
so it started out from a disappointment.
It was very, my expectations were low going in, and it didn't meet those. Like I was just like, hey, this is all a bunch of spiritual woo-woo nonsense. I don't believe in any of this. And it was accurate. Nothing happened. Fast forward a year, I've got another friend who's trying to get me to try breath work, and she was very insistent. It was her boyfriend that was doing it. And I was like, hey, look, I did it. Nothing happened. There's no there. There's no substance to this, because I did it. And she was insistent that it was different and that I should try it. And I eventually went one night just on a random, didn't even tell her, just randomly showed up and was like, all right, I'll do this. And it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. It was incredibly emotional. It was spiritual. It was mental. I received information and downloads and things that I needed to do in my life, things I needed to take care of. And I was like, wow, this was awesome. And then I started going back every week, twice a week. And then I started trying to bring Kim again, because I was like, hey, this was really awesome. And she was like, yeah, I did it. Yeah. I was there with you. Yeah. It was indeed not awesome. And then after several months of that, me hooting and hollering and claiming it was incredible, she finally showed up and was like, oh wow, that was pretty awesome. And I think one of the big differences between the first session and the second session was the first person that we worked with was used to working with spiritually sensitive people who don't require much guidance. That you just kind of put them in the room together, let them go, and they're kind of natural. So if you look at coaches back in the 1950s, coaches in the 1950s didn't have to be that good, because everybody who showed up to do athletics was an athlete. Whereas coaches today, the majority of the people that they're coaching don't have natural athletic ability. You have to break it down to the basics and tell them how to do it. And that's what the second guy did. He was able to go, hey, do it just like this, and do this, and then do this. And he was very consistent and smooth. So after doing that for a year, I was like, this is really awesome, but there's some things missing. There's some things that I would like to accomplish that this isn't doing. And then I basically went out and did everybody's breath work. Like, if they were a breath work facilitator, instructor, if they had a different style, I went and did all of them. And most of them were not very good. They were focused at a type of person that didn't, and when I say they weren't very good, they didn't align with me. That they were, again, going with spiritual people. And despite how Kim dresses, this is not the crowd that we're usually going for. We're not going for the chakra crystal, blowing smoke, woo-woo crowd. It's more like, are you a business person? Do you have to get up tomorrow and handle real world problems? I don't care if your throat chakra is out of alignment. How are you actually going to deal with your boss or a kid tomorrow that's going to be an issue in your life if you don't handle it skillfully? So those are the kind of issues that I was trying to answer and address, and that's why a lot of those different types of breath work didn't really resonate with me, because they were dealing at a level that it's not very applicable to life, and that's really what I was looking for, and that's what we ended up developing with our type of breath work.
So would you say your first encounter with breath work was that? So you said it was more for spiritually sensitive people?
Correct.
And you
and I'm not.
Yeah, and your method or your style is more for people that are from a more practical approach.
Correct.
so you can implement breathing techniques into your daily life.
Correct. Like this is for a real world application is what we're trying to apply. And that, Kim, I say all the time, I don't believe in miracles, but I see them every day. But that also doesn't mean that I think that we can just, a lot of these people, they think, oh, I can conjure miracles. And it's like, no, you can't. Like one may happen, but it's not because of my effort. It's not because of Kim's effort. It's because of what's going on within that person, that we're just trying to take them through a very systematic, structured program that's going to create that kind of result in their life, in their mind. And that it's, you don't have to believe in the supernatural. You don't have to give up reasoning. You don't have to give up analysis. That intuition and reasoning can coexist.
What is happening, like from the brain standpoint with the breathing? Because, I want to share more information because I'm very excited about this. I would say the first time I've ever experienced with breathing work is at a point in life where life got very dark, and I went to a therapist, and that therapist was probably the first time where we actually did like more controlling emotions type breath work, and I felt the difference. Even I didn't want to accept it, but there I opened my mind up to more things. And I personally like the philosopher Alan Watts. I'm not sure if you ever heard, and he talks about breathing, and something that I remember about him talking is that we already breathe, right? All the time. We don't even think about it and we do it, but things change when you do it consciously breathing. And I was like, and it's so simple concepts, but things that would really open up my mind. And I do, at least once a day consciously try to breathe to my full capacity of my lungs. It's something that I've never thought about, but now I try to do it. Sometimes I forget, but whenever I have a moment, I'm like, you know what? I just need to fill up my lungs once and just take a deep breath, and it feels so much nicer. So I'm very enthusiastic about this topic. And what's happening from a professional standpoint?
So physiologically, what's happening?
I don't know what's happening a little. Let's get into it.
We can talk a little bit about. So to back up and cover what you just kind of covered, what you touched on there, and then we'll dive into the physiological nature of it. So what is breath work? The first thing that breath work is that with our type of breath work, the way that we do it is we set intentions, and our intentions are our desires, our goals, our dreams, how we would like our life to be different tomorrow than it is today. And a lot of times when we ask people how would you like your life to be tomorrow, they're like, well, I don't know. I don't want this. That's the first thing I know is what I have right now. I got a big hobo sandwich here and I don't want that. And that's a good start, but not here isn't a place. If I say I don't want to be here, well, that leaves a lot of options, but it doesn't really, I can't tell Google Maps, hey, I want to be not here. It's all right, we'll take one step to the left. Congratulations, you're not there anymore. So we have to have a desire. We have to have a vision. We have to have a goal. We have to have a clearer picture in mind of what it is we do want in our lives. And for a tremendous amount of people, that is an incredibly overwhelming, difficult task. That a lot of times when people go to set intentions, it's like they walk up to a deli counter and go, "One sandwich, please." And it's like, well, that still leaves a lot of options for what kind of sandwich you're going to get. Hey, what kind of bread? What kind of meat? Cheese, lettuce,
sauce, everything.
Sauce, what do you want here? They're like, I don't know. And it's like, well, then you're going to get what you get and you're going to like it. So be specific about what it is that you desire in life. So that's the first thing that we're asking them to do is set an intention. The second thing you do, and that you touched on it, was that we are taking the unconscious and making it conscious through breathing. That breath is a pattern, and that the majority of what is happening in our life is a pattern. Now, there may be a delayed response or some sort of lag delay between the input and the output of what we're seeing, and that we're not connecting those things. We had a conversation about that this week in our lives, which was entertaining. That hey, I did this, and 2 days later this happened, and I'm not putting those things together, but for sure they are. And the same thing happens with our breath, that our breath is a pattern. The majority of the time it's unconscious. So what we're doing is taking an unconscious pattern and moving it into consciousness. So our intentions do that same thing, that once we've done that with our breath, whatever that pattern is that's going on in our life that is creating that struggle, that is creating that discomfort, it's going to bring that to the surface. So anybody and everybody who comes to breath work is coming because they have some sort of struggle, to which we say the struggle is real and there is no struggle. And what we mean by that is whatever you're struggling with, somebody else out there is doing it easily. So clearly the thing itself is not the struggle. So your struggle is real. It's not a real struggle. The struggle is within you. So after you have that struggle, it's a lot like a massage, that when you have a point of discomfort, the more pressure you apply to it, the more uncomfortable it becomes until it releases. So with the breath work that we do, it creates a peak experience, and that's where you have that release. And then through that peak experience, you then level up, and that struggle that you have is hopefully alleviated permanently, or at least you've made some progress with that so that you no longer have that struggle. So those are kind of the big three things that incorporate breath work. And then physiologically, what's happening with breath work. The type of breath work that we do, we're kind of loosey-goosey in how you breathe. That some people are very regimented, that if you read all of the literature across all time and space, 5.5 seconds in and 5.5 seconds out is the perfect breath. You should inhale for 5.5 seconds. You should exhale for 5.5 seconds. That said, all of us have different internal metronomes, meaning, my internal metronome is I joke that I'm kind of built like a tractor, and I move and I function kind of like a tractor. Like, I'm very slow, I'm very consistent, I just keep moving, and like do, but I don't ever have to stop. It doesn't matter how much weight you put on me. Kim, it's our little hummingbird. She's got hummingbird energy. It's like zoom, 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 zoom. She's all over the place all the time. And I'm just like, we're out watching you. Like, you gotta slow down, sister. So what I mean by that is when Kim rides breath work, it's very quick. Because that's how Kim breathes, because that's her internal metronome. My internal metronome is like Darth Vader's looking at me going, hey bro, you got to speed it up, man. So like my metronome is about 7.5 seconds, which is like
slower,
than, longer, smoother. That's what's most comfortable for me. But again, 5.5 seconds. Now what we find is most people are somewhere in the 3.5 second range is where they find comfort because of how we breathe normally, that we breathe slow and that we breathe sharp and shallow into our chest. So the first thing that we're trying to do is get you to breathe into your belly so that you have a diaphragm breath and that your belly's moving in and out. Belly first, then chest, and then both of them relax together. So the inhale is all the effort on the inhale, and then it's all relax on the exhale. We're not timing either. We're not specifying you have to do it this fast. You have to do it this way. It can be through your mouth. It can be through your nose. It can be in through your nose, out through your mouth. It can be in the nose, out the nose. So we're trying to find what's most comfortable for you. And a lot of times we can see people, this makes them uncomfortable because they want to be told, this is how you should do it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And there is no this. It's like, well, what did you find comfortable? Yeah. And they're like, well, how should I know? It's like, well, it's your body. Like, figure it out. Try them all for a while and see like which one works. So we give them different options to find out what's most comfortable for them. And they do have different effects, the way that you breathe, like whether it's through your nose or through your mouth. And then the next thing that we do is we're going to make the breath continuous. Every inhale is connected to every exhale. Every exhale is connected to every inhale. And it's normally in our day-to-day breath, when we breathe, we inhale, we exhale, and we pause. We may swallow, we may yawn, we may sigh or do something else, but in between our inhale and our exhale, there's a little pause there that happens. And it happens so naturally that we don't even notice it's there. So all we do is remove that inhale, that pause, and it becomes a cycle. It becomes a circle where your breath flows, or it becomes a wave, that a wave never stops, never starts, it just keeps moving. And it's in that continuous flow of breath that something magic happens. So for sure, one of the things that we know that happens is that the CO2 levels begin to drop. So most of the time people are doing breath work, they'll talk about, hey, we're super oxygenating the blood. That's not possible. If you put an oximeter on your finger, that like most of the time you walk around, your blood is at 96, 97% oxygen concentration. There's not a whole lot more above that you can get. Like once you get it to 100%, it's not one of those things you can,
102, 103.
Yeah, you can't do it. Like I'm going to give it 110%. It's like, physiologically not possible. The red blood cells only carry the amount of oxygen that red blood cells carry. So your oxygen doesn't go up, but your CO2 does go down. And then that starts to create physiological changes in your body and in your brain and in your mind. So we know for a fact that the CO2 is changing. So physiologically, we know that's an actual thing, that changing the carbon dioxide in your breath has an effect on you physically, mentally, emotionally. There are other theories that are unproven, in that there's DMT being released from the lungs, and that's one of the things that causes the visions and trances and the ability to see colors and geometry from doing breath work, much like if you had done a psychedelic.
I did not know. Is this like clinically tested that the lungs do
That's one of the
produce?
things where I say it is a theory.
Okay.
There is, like, I can tell you, hey man, we're changing your
Yeah.
CO2 levels. That's a fact.
Okay.
We've got tests, we've got procedures, we can do things like that. There's a theory that DMT is being released from the lungs. It's a theory. There aren't any studies that I know of showing that. Now there are other studies that show that we do endogenously within our own bodies create DMT. That, like, when a baby is born, the first 2 weeks that it's born, it's creating DMT in its lungs, which is why they're so freaking happy all the time.
Is
Just
wild.
like rolling eyes, like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He's like, yeah, kid's on DMT, man. Of course he's happy.
Because I do hear people talk about, especially when you die or pass away, is the amount of DMT being produced in your brain.
That is another one of those theories where it's
Talked about, right? At least
it's talked about. It's a little tough to study.
Yeah.
You know, there aren't too many people stepping up for the double blind. Hey, we want to hook a meter up to your pituitary gland in your brain, and when you actually croak, see if you have a huge release of DMT. But that is one of the theories. But it's just a theory.
Interesting. So what were you doing prior to this? Like before breath work, you said you were stressed and angry. If you don't mind me asking, what kind of stuff were you doing?
It wasn't necessarily because of work. I was just not handling life. Okay. I always joke that, like, I got dealt some bad cards and then played them poorly. Is basically what happened. Like, I want to double down on losing.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing well in life. I was doing business to business sales. I did online marketing, online advertising, and worked in that realm for a long time in the commercial world.
So what kind of people come to you guys' practice?
I'd say we have two. From my point of view, I'll also let Kim chime in on this. I see that we have two kinds of people. Fundamentally, we have people that I consider in debt, and that in debt can be emotional, mental, spiritual debt, that they are beneath the baseline. The anxiety, depression, PTSD, grief, that boredom, loneliness, whatever it is that they're dealing with, that there is a negative in their life that is to their personal experience, it's the overwhelming aspect of their life. And they're dealing with that. And I would say about 50% of the people are dealing with some sort of, again, they're in some sort of emotional, mental debt that they need to deal with. And then the other 50%, if you looked at them from the outside, you'd say, hey, life's going pretty well for them. Like, they're doing all right at life. If you had looked at me at the beginning of this journey, you would have said, he looks like he's doing all right. But inside, it was not going well. So a lot of these people, they're not necessarily dealing with depression, anxiety, or things not going well, but things have gone well, and they've looked around and said, is this it? Is this life? This is I was told there would be happiness when I achieved the big house and the car.
It's almost
and
the more dangerous one.
Correct. Yeah. So they get to the top of the success ladder, take a look around and go, damn, it didn't work. Now what? So then they show up and go, is there a meaning to life? To which I go, nope, there isn't. Meaning is inherent. Purpose is created, but they can create a purpose for their life. So with that, I will turn it over to Kim, and she'll talk about the people that she brings in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jake. I feel like there's a lot of people who come through our door who, anxiety, depression, and PTSD, those are the three big ones that we can really help get a hold on that for them, with them. And the other side, I feel it's a lot of, business executives, people who might seem to have it all, but they're just missing a piece of it. And a lot of people in business who need clarity, who want a little bit of direction on which way to go, in their path. And I feel like breathwork can give that to them, so that way then they can move forward with the direction that they need or want, with the direction that they're desiring.
What has changed the most of before really focusing on your breathing, like before and now, like for you, what has changed the most?
For me personally, I would say what has changed the most? That's a lot, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
This would be a great one for us to answer for the other person. Like this. Let me confess some things about you.
This is recorded. We probably shouldn't.
Oh, probably not.
I would say for me, I've been noticing a lot lately just about being grounded and centered. Mm-hmm. So especially when all the chaos in life happens around us, right? Mm-hmm. The people we love, the people we don't know, there's always a lot of chaos that just happens in life. It happens with humans. And I feel like this path, this journey has led me to be very grounded and very calm and peaceful in situations that can otherwise be really intense and cause a lot of anxiety. But it's like a breath of fresh air that I can stay calm in a lot of weird situations now.
That's awesome. Well, what would you say, Jake?
I'm going to confess one for Kim here.
Do it.
That, a lot of times when people talk about awareness and enlightenment, they talk about it like it's some far off flung difficult thing. Mm-hmm. And what it really is just seeing life as life is accurately. Mm-hmm. That we all have biases, we all have prejudices, we all have things that we want to be a certain way. Hey, my kid's awesome. In fact, your kid is not awesome. Your kid's kind of a butthead. And it's that lack of awareness that makes us think that like people are different than they are because that's how we want to see them. Hey, I want to see the best in people. Actually, I don't want to see the best in people. I want to see you accurately. I want to see you exactly as you are. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing that's changed in Kim in the last several years is her ability to accept that the way things are is the way things are, instead of
wanting it to be
different. Yeah.
I took off the rose-colored glasses.
Yes. Which is incredibly painful because you start looking around and you're like, oh, these people are terrible.
Definitely.
Like, I don't want this person in my life anymore. You either need to step up or move along.
Definitely. But would you say life got better, right? At the beginning, it might be difficult, but
100%. Right? It continues.
Every step of the way where I have, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, raise the level of my boundaries of who and how I will deal with people, it has made an exponential difference in my life. That like demanding, this is what I am willing to accept from people in my life, has made overall the biggest difference in my life.
Is it because you're able to more like kind of detach yourself from the situation that you're able to see people more unbiased, or what would you say?
There is some of that. Often when people treat us a certain way, we think, how dare you treat me like that? And it's like, well, it doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with how they are. That's how they're choosing to show up in life. Somebody cuts you off. This one always cracks me up. Someone cuts you off in traffic and then they yell at you and you're like, bro, I was the one that was aggrieved here. Like, I was minding my own business, doing my own thing, and now you're yelling at me because I got out of bed 5 minutes before you? Like, how dare you, sir? And, really that doesn't have anything to do with me. That 100% has to do with them. It's like, all right, well, go on with your bad self. Hope it works out for you later, but for sure it won't.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that you guys already mentioned, but I still want to, ask because I feel like it's an interesting topic, and I'm just very curious. Is there anything that you've realized since starting breath work? And I know you guys are not the spiritually this and that, but I kind of like to entertain that type of side of things. If I can make this extra, I'm taking this to the 10-10. Like you said that there's no specific meaning to life. But do you want to what is life? Is there anything here? What's your thoughts about it? If you can dive a little bit more onto that, what you meant by that, or what do you think is life?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll cover the meaning question first. So, simple enough. The word purpose has meaning. The meaning of purpose is inherent in the word purpose, meaning it without the meaning, it doesn't have any significance.
It just sounds.
It just sounds. Now, the purpose of the word purpose doesn't emerge until you use it into a sentence. Now it has purpose. So life has no meaning. There's nothing inherent in life. Like when you show up, you don't have a calling, you don't have a duty, you don't have a preordained thing that you need or have to do. Now life does have purpose, that once you put it into action, once you begin to use it, there is a purpose for this, but it can be, I don't know that it would be decided, but it can be sensed. And that like there's a matrix of purposes, that this is a choose your own adventure, but there's not just one right choice. There's multiplicity of choices, and they can all be right. One of the things that we talk about in breath work is that there is no right, there is no wrong, but there is more skillful and less skillful. So there's no wrong way to do breath work. I used to joke, like, if you do breath work wrong, worst can happen is you pass out. Yeah. And people are like, what? I'm like, you're not going to pass. Even if you do pass out, you'll just start breathing again. You'll be fine. Come over, slap you around a little bit. It'll be great. So I stopped telling people they could pass out. As entertaining as it was for me. So again, my life's improved the more that I have expanded that from my own practice of breath work, of there is no right, there is no wrong. Because when you go to exhale, if you're exhaling and you just relax, where does that breath end? And if you need to start the inhale before it ends, where's that point? And it's difficult to decide at first. Like, is this breath over? Is this breath not over? The same thing happens when you ring a bell. Like, when did the ringing of this bell actually stop? I don't know. And at first, it's very difficult to discern that. So that's where that more skillful and less skillful comes off. Like, I may cut this breath a little short because I don't know where it's going to end. But the original point I was getting to is, as I've expanded that from my practice of breath work and giving myself that grace of no right, no wrong, just more skillful and less skillful, and realizing that other people are doing the best that they can, and that they're not necessarily right or wrong, but they are more skillful or less skillful, and that if I'm having a conflict with somebody because I feel like they're basically mismanaging the situation or they're mismanaging me, they just don't have the skill level to do that yet. And that I can either help them with it or I can absolve myself of it. But like, being angry at them isn't going to do anything. Then we go back to your original question. Yeah. What is life? Yeah. Life is energy. Full stop. That's it. Everything you want, everything you see, everything that exists is some form of energy. So I'm probably going to mispronounce this. Cymatics, I believe is what it's called, is the study of energy on shapes. So if you go to YouTube, if I've pronounced this properly, which I probably haven't because I'm from Arkansas and I have a terrible problem with enunciation that Kim is very entertained by in life. I'll stay away from. I work my way around a lot of words.
It's okay. They'll figure it out. They can figure it out.
So cymatics, they take it's either a black sheet of paper or a black piece of steel. They put it over a speaker. They pour white sand on it and they hit it with sound.
And then it forms shapes. Yeah.
So all of those shapes have 6 sides every time.
Wow.
They form different shapes, they form different patterns, but it's always going to be a 6-sided thing. So you apply energy to some matter and it becomes a 6-sided thing. So we have this emergent phenomenon of energy, matter, and form takes place. So we've got this enormous fireball in the sky that's like eight light minutes away that just keeps blasting our planet with energy. And then we have this water and stuff starts forming. And if you look at people, if you look at most animals, head, tail, 2 arms, 2 legs, you have 6 sides. So we're just matter. We are just matter and energy that's taken form.
Anything to add to it, Kim?
No, he's doing a great job.
Hi, that's very interesting. I do like that because, because I feel like at some point we all have to question this thing, and like, I'm gonna get, no one's gonna. There's gonna be 5 people that made it this far into the podcast, and they're gonna be able to hear my true thoughts.
Thank you, hardcore listeners.
Yeah, is like, if you have never questioned about like what is life or like why are we here, I feel like you probably, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say it, but like you probably had no struggles in life. Like I feel like difficulty and pain will make you question what is life. And I feel like my answer or motivation or reason, to me, that was very important. And in the current state I have reached to, at least I'm comfortable with this term, is that we're just here to experience. Yeah, and I kind of just like how simple it is, but there's no, like you said, like when you first hear it, there's no meaning. It might sound scary, but it's almost, I think, the opposite, where it's liberating, where it's like there's nothing you actually have to finish, or there's nothing that
Correct.
There's no expectation.
It's your choice
It's
whether
just,
you finish it or not.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, I'm just here to truly just experience what is here, and to have a ideally positive experience. But looking at that way helped me not deal with, but I guess help me experience like pain or other suffering or other stuff with a much more positive light of not feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, or I don't want to be doing this. Like I was like, you know what, I'm here to this is just part of the experience of like pain, difficulties, suffering, all work, all of this stuff is just part of the deal. And then once I kind of looked at that, I'm just like, okay, I'm just here to do life. And that like helped me take a lot of the emotions away and just kind of enjoy things a little bit more. That helped me stabilize, I guess. Yeah. Is there anything on this podcast that you thought that I might have asked but I didn't ask, that you guys want to just put it out there?
Oh my gosh.
No, I always just show up and like, hey, we'll go over wherever it is.
Yeah.
It is one of the things in our relationship when I talk about like reasoning, analysis, and intuition, and them being together, and that like not believing in the supernatural. Kim is always like, you've seen it. And I'm like, I have. And she's like, so admit it. And I'm like, don't believe in it. She's like, you've seen miracles. I'm like, I have. Hang out, come around Tuesday. There'll be another one.
Amazing. In that case, where can people find you guys?
We're our website is Breath.Energy, and I'll let Kim do the socials because I don't know anything about that.
Oh gosh, I don't even know our handles, but you can find Breath.Energy both on Facebook and Instagram.
You had one job.
I know. You set them up years ago. I don't even remember. I click and paste.
Hey.
Copy paste.
Well, if you look for Breath.Energy on online, we'll be there.
You'll find us.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
I appreciate it.